Thank you for taking this moment to breathe and to listen to what can change your life forever. My name is Ragnar Sinikas, and I'm the founder of Starpreneur TV, How to Dominate the Decade talk show, World Woman Conference and Awards, the creator of Coral Desk, the coach of the Changemakers, and co-author of the Dominate the Decade book. My mission is to empower through education. Thank you for being with us today. And today I have the honor to talk with Jossine Abrahams from London, UK. Jossine, tell us your story, who you are, why are you doing what you're doing, what is your passion?
Thank you very much for having me tonight. My name is Jossine Abrahams. My story started like this. I got married very early in the 80s when I just completed high school. I was back home in Africa. Then I got married. My husband was just as young as I am. He was about 28. He had just finished he was in the army. So he had a car accident and died just after I had my daughter when she was 3. So I lost him and I waited for a while just to breathe. But because there's that stigma back home, competition, and when people look at you and you're not married, you look very awkward to everybody. So it's like more of competition during those years, because when they look at you and get married, then you go back home, you are divorced or you have lost the husband or something, they tend to think, how come you're having all these bad things happening to you at so early stage of your life? Then they take it like a curse. What has happened to this family? What is happening to this family? And why is this child behaving like this? Or why has these things happened to her at so early stages of her marriage? So I didn't want to go back home to give my parents a burden, because I thought it was a burden for me to go back and start living with them again whilst I have my own child. So I decided I will continue working because I had a job already. So I said I will continue working until I meet somebody else, because I didn't want the idea of going back home, because once I go back home, everybody would know my business. And the culture says when you are divorced or when something is happening within your marriage, my mom or my culture used to say, keep it under your armpit. Don't share, don't tell anybody else. That was the culture. So there's nothing I could have done to change the situation. I've already lost my husband at 24. And for me to think that I've got a child, I'm only 24, I've lost my husband, and going back home, and they knew he died because they came to the funeral. But for them to expect me to come home and live with them at home, they didn't expect that. And I was more comfortable with that as well, because I didn't want to go back home for everybody else to see what has happened to me. So I stayed wherever I was working in the city. I was in the city. So I continued working until I met somebody some 3 years later. Then I said, okay, that's fine. I can get married now. He's a lovely gentleman. There's no problem. But immediately we married, things changed, because what you see all the time when you're dating is not the truth about somebody, because they hide. They don't want to show their true self. So you begin to see things and begin to notice awkward things. Then you begin to question. When you question, that's where the problem comes, because it's like, you met me like this, or you should understand. I said, no, I can't understand this. This is new, because you never showed me this type of life. How come you're doing this? So it was like, the minute you ask, you have to be beaten, or I will have my face swell like this, and I couldn't go back to work the following day. Or I could be spat on, he could lift a knife, anything could happen to you, because they believe that's the culture. A man is always above. So even if you're wrong, even if you're right, as a woman, you shouldn't say a lot, That was then, because that's my generation. I was born in the 60s. So you could just let it go like that. You can't ask, you can't question anything. So we had about 3 years in this marriage whilst I'm struggling, until one of my uncle noticed that something is not right here. I'm not myself anymore. And they could, you know, if you know your own child, when you look at her, you would definitely tell that something is not right. So they asked me, and I said everything was okay, but everything was okay with tears running down on my face, because somebody has just seen what I'm going through. And when they see it, I couldn't hide it, because this person was so close to me. He was my father's brother. So he knew I was being, you know, abused. So he says, okay, why don't you leave him? So he went to talk to my parents and said, I'm gonna stand up for this child, because I think something is not going right. And I was being abused every day, being hit and being spat on, being whatever he felt like he wanted to do with me, he could do it. And if I refuse, then that's where the problem starts. He was drinking a lot as well, because alcohol was the main problem. He couldn't control himself with alcohol. So I left him, and he agreed. He didn't care less, because even his girlfriends, wherever he was going and coming back in the house, they could phone in the house. And they will tell you, if you want, you can check inside, he will be wearing such and such, because we are going to change those ones. Why are you staying there anyway? He told us he doesn't love you. So all those things happening in the middle of me being 20 something years. I'm not very old, but I'm trying to cope with this. Then he agreed when I said, can we part for a while? Then we see what happens. He agreed quickly, because he was happy wherever he was going. So he was happy, and he was happy to do that. He didn't bother me. He went and he left. That was that. Then after 3-4 years again, I thought, oh my God, I'm so lonely. I need to be with somebody else, because I didn't want my peers, people who were born the same time with me, to see that I'm struggling or there's something not going right. I wanted to pretend like everybody else, to pretend as if everything was okay, but it wasn't. So I got married again, but this time it was even worse, because I got married to somebody with his own children. He had about 3 children and mine was 1. So that means it makes me a mother of 4 whilst I'm below 30. So 4 children below 30, he started again, the same game that was being done with the other one, the previous. He started going out, he started sleeping around, he started bringing diseases in the house, and he assumed that I'll be taking care of his children and my child. So I have 4-5 mouths to feed out of my little salary, and he's not caring about what is happening, and he's going, bringing diseases in the house now and again, until the doctor started giving me a warning to say, you know what, you're gonna die if you're not careful. So it was that bad that I said, you know what, it's even better to be by myself than to be with this, because it's not working. Okay, you tell them this is it. I'm not, I think we should end this. And you could see that somebody was so happy to end it so quickly. Then immediately he left, I realized that my life is not gonna be the same again. I have to be a patient the rest of my life. Then it really took me back. I was suicidal. I didn't know what to do. The only thing which made me a little bit stronger was my child. I thought, even if I want to kill myself today, and if I die today, who's going to take care of my child? What is going to happen to my daughter? So I made sure that I was strong, but being strong for my daughter. I didn't look after myself. I didn't tell my story. I kept my story for good 30 years. 1, 2, 3, 3 decades. I was keeping that story in me. But the impact of something which is hidden will even show when it's really affecting your mental health. I started feeling very, very ill, and the blood pressure was so rocketing that I couldn't control it. And I didn't realize that me not being on medication with those diseases I'm being given again, my immune system was not strong enough to support me. So I began fainting in front of the class because I was a lecturer in health and social care. For good 15 years, I was teaching whilst I'm struggling with my mental capacity, whilst I'm doing this job. And you know, teaching is very demanding because it's very stressful dealing with school children. It's very, very stressful. So I had to cope with all this thing under my own circumstances. I had nobody to tell until a friend in Canada, actually, they said, oh, we are writing a book. We are doing an anthology. Do you want to join? I said, what is anthology? Because I had no idea how to write a book. Oh, it's writing a book in a group. I said, how do you write a book in a group? Then she says, oh, you can write a page or 2 chapters and tell us what you want to tell us. I said, I don't know what to write. She says, no, you should have a story. Every individual has a story. And this is how I started. Wherever I meet women, I said, every woman I know has got a story. Somebody has got a story. So she insisted that I tell the story. Then I didn't tell until I went to hospital. That's when she called. She said, you are in hospital. And I was hospitalized for 3 months with blood pressure. I was told never to leave the bed, never to go anywhere. I was being bed bound. I was being washed. Everything was happening to me whilst I'm on the same spot. But I was adamant, I want to walk. So if I walk, I put the nurses and the doctors in trouble because I'm doing against what they are trying to find out. So after a while, after those 3 months finished, I got my treatment and now I'm able, everything has stabilized. I said, but why not? I'm now teaching, I've got a good job, I've graduated, I've done everything, which I never thought I would do. So why can't I write this book? With those people, I write chapters. I think we did about 3-4 books whilst I'm doing chapters. Then the 4th book, I said, you know what, I've got my story. I really need to write my own book. Why am I writing stories and wasting my time with these people? But I knew I had the guts to do it. I knew I was going to do something better. So I wrote my first book. It was oh, I forgot the name. All right. I've got so many books now in my story. But the book which I use to speak wherever I go is Peace After the Storm, which is the book which has dominated the world. I've gone everywhere in the world with that book. And it has made me a speaker. Inspirational speaker. I counsel women, I help women, I talk to people about it. And other books, the books I've written is like Speak Out, Women Speak Up, Don't Keep Quiet. You have to heal, because if you're not healed inside, if you keep all those things that's stressing you within you, your life will never be the same because you'll be struggling all the time. So I teach women to speak. I teach women to, I help women to find their confidence back. I help women to say their story and write about what they do or what they are going through. I help women to do some projects to help themselves to sustain themselves with their families, to help their kids to be able to do other projects which can help them, because definitely most of my job is in Africa. I help women mainly in Africa because this is where my struggles began. This is where people who resonate with what I went through, people who are still struggling the way I struggled, they are in Africa. And I know their problems. I know financially they can't afford to do most of the things that a woman of today is doing. So what I do, I try to help, I try to show them some projects. How can't you do this project? Can you try and do this project? It helps. We do teamwork. There is a group of women we've been teaching how to knit. So they knit and sell as well. They do a lot of things. They are, and now coming back to what I do mostly, I do work with Lowani. As you know, I'm an ambassador for Africa. I'm the chairperson for Africa. What do we do in Africa? We help orphans, those without parents. We help the widows and show them how to do some projects to help them how to find food for their children. How can they sustain themselves through farming? How can they help themselves so that women be breadwinners as well? They don't have to wait for their husbands alone. So that's all the things we do. How to make uniforms for their children to go to school so that they are well presentable, when they go out there. So those are some of the things we do.
Tell us, you have been honored with many awards. Tell us what is the closest to your heart and why?
Um, what is closest to my heart is to see that every woman is helped, every woman is able to speak, every woman has to come out and be confident as a woman, not to rely on somebody to run your life. Speak out if there is any problem. I advocate for women to show them the way to speak. Sometimes, going back to my own story, I was very young and I was more or less like a bully as well. When he says this, I'll say this. He says this, I'll say this. If he says, I'm going to fight you, I said, okay, we're going to fight. But it didn't help anything, because if you give me one blow, I'll give you the other one until you put me on the floor and do whatever you do. That's why they become so angry to the extent of putting a knife on my back, because I was adamant to say that I'll never let anyone touch me. If you touch me, I'll touch you back. If you hit me, I'll hit you back. That's what I had in my mind to keep me surviving. So it was like a way to say, no, you can't do anything to me. That's the way I defended myself. Up to now, I'm so a little bit arrogant. My family says I am arrogant because yes, that's the way I grew up knowing to defend myself. Because if I don't defend myself, I'm just thinking, oh, maybe the next thing he's gonna or she's gonna bully me, because this is what I'm used to know. So I make sure all the time I'm defending myself. So what I do now is to help women to try and solve their problems calmly without fighting, to try and talk so that you understand each other. You go on the same level, even though they say a woman has to lower themselves down so that they give the respect to the man. Yes, we still do that in Africa. We still give them the respect, but there is a way of doing it. You don't have to say tit for tat. When it's fighting, you calm down, you put your voice down, and you find another way of approach. When things are not working, you have to find meet halfway so that you don't have to be hit all the time. Or else, if it doesn't work, that's where we stand in and try and help people to move away from such situations in a better way than fighting.
What advice could you give to someone who is currently going through domestic violence? They are living it on daily basis, and obviously, as we know, all the pandemic situation that we have all over the world hasn't helped us not one bit.
Yes,
and even here in Mexico, it is a huge problem for the same reasons, because for generations it has been that way, that women need to be in some other place now. But what would be your advice today for women that are going, or not maybe only women? We know that there's vice versa cases as well for the domestic violence.
Yes, men are struggling as well. There are women who are also bullied. There are women who are also abusing them. The whole thing, the way I would advise people is be assertive. Know your role as a woman. Know your role, first of all. know what you are able, because once you live with somebody, you don't just jump into marriage. Take time to study this person, take time to know this time. Because what I said to, even to my own daughter, I said, you know what, you need to get some reference for this person you're gonna marry, because you need to know them. Of course, they pretend because these are the first days, they might pretend, but what you need to do is, once you get married to somebody, make sure you know them very well. Make sure you check. And when you're speaking to somebody, you can tell that this is not true. You can tell that this person, what he's telling me, is lying. Because when you live with him about 2, 3, 4, 5 months, a year, you tend to know the habits, you tend to know the system, you tend to know the way they cheat and go around. So once you notice that, try calmly to speak. Then when you can't come at the same level, make sure that you've got somebody who knows your story. I mean, confide into someone, only one person. If you don't want everybody else to know you, so try and confide into someone, whether it's police, whether it's social services, or a best friend. One person should know what you are going through. It's not good to keep quiet, because if you keep quiet, definitely he will kill you. You will die in there without nobody knowing that this is what you're going through. So the best thing is you have 1 or 2, 3 people. It's good enough here in England. They've got a secret number where you can just dial and put your phone down, and the police will know where you are, the spot you are, and the number. They just look at the system, and it will bring out all about you. So they know exactly where to go. Because once you are being attacked and you are in a relationship where you are being violated, the only thing you can do, you don't have the chance to pick the phone when you're being hit or when he's doing anything. You don't have the chance to say, I want to speak to my mom or something. He doesn't allow you, because he's a bully. He's standing in front of you, right in front of your face. So he doesn't allow you. You can keep your number in your phone, or if you know, like for me, I was now able to know that when he do this, the next thing is that. When you do this, the next thing is that. So I must be ready. If I'm not ready, I'm gonna die today in this house. I could stand up in the morning and wiping the whole house full of my own blood because I was being hit last night. So the thing is, you've got to get this number and dial it from your pocket. You can even set the number, because if you know the person you're living with, you've got other ways of helping. If you can't scream, if you can't shout, you've got to make sure that out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can use one solution to get to someone who is attacking me. Be ready as well. Make sure you've got a little bag packed for living. If you know that the situation I'm going through is not good, the minute he goes to the toilet or anything, you jump out of the house and go. If the house is locked and you can't go, that's the time where you use the phone, dial 555 or 999, whatever you dial, and put the phone down. The police will definitely will come and rescue. They will know where you are. Even the social services, if you are having a habit of speaking and telling people what you're going through, they will definitely know who is dialing this number and where is this person, and they will come and rescue you. It's no good to keep quiet. Gone are the days of keeping quiet when domestic violence is happening. They would kill, because some people, they don't care. Killing a person is just like killing a chicken to them. So we've got to be alert, we've got to be ahead of the game, because if not, definitely your life is gonna end, and who's gonna lose? Your children, your family, everybody's gonna lose. You're gonna die. So you need to find a solution which could help you. And this solution is known to you, the police, or your friend, your best friend.
What do
Over
you
to you.
see? What the future will bring? Do you see that there is any change in that field? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Obviously, if I would have asked you the question maybe a few months ago, the answer would be totally different. Nobody was really
I know.
expecting to be in those
In,
circumstances
in
today.
pandemic, yes.
But do you see that this topic has been discussed enough? What we as this generation leaders can do in order to make it better?
This is a very, very difficult topic. Unless everybody gets education, everybody needs to be empowered. We need to keep empower people, empower women, empower men, so that people know that what they are doing is not right. It's not that they don't know, they do know, but sometimes they tend to forget. People need the empowerment. They need to hear this every day. It's not supposed to be a one event thing, like we spoke about it last month. We don't, even the government has to help. They have to get involved and speak about this as a TV channel or something that is spoken about every day, because this gonna stop everybody's life. The children you're raising in that circumstance, they will still do the same thing because that's what they grew up seeing. That's what they know the parents do. They fight, so they would think fighting is the only way. So we are saying as the advocates, we need to talk more about domestic violence. We need to do more, even adverts on TV. We need to do shows on TV. We need to do more events and go out there and educate people. People needs to be educated to change the system, because if there is nothing like that, system is not doing any favors to anybody. The government itself, the environments need to change. The governments need to help so that people stop doing this. We need more advocates. We need more people who talk about domestic violence. We need people who come out with testimonies and tell people and show people and even write what I'm doing, to write so that people know. Because the other book I wrote was Freedom After Domestic Violence. What did I mean? I meant I got my freedom. But how did I get my freedom? Had I not spoken, would I have got that freedom? No. So it's because I spoke, I stand up, I had the confidence to say, no, this will never happen again to me. It has to stop now. So if you can't speak, if you are not assertive enough to fight for your life, you will die in there. So you need to start speaking as a woman, start to open your mouth. Even if it's a man going through that, you need to start speaking, because the problem is our man, they still have the macho side thinking, oh, I'm the man, I can't speak, I can't tell people that I'm being abused. But the better they speak quickly, the better they get help. So even the same thing to the women's side, the better you speak about your problem to others to get help. It's not a shameful thing to speak about what you are going through. Of course, you might find one or two people who can laugh, but it's not a laughing issue. We really need to collaborate on this and work together to help to change the mindset of people, to change the way people live. We need collaboration. We need more advocates. We need more on TV to talk about these things, because they are not being talked about more. So we need to do a lot more. Even books, we need to write more. Channels, we need to have even channels for domestic violence, so that people see the impact of what it does. The children, what you do to your own children, how do they grow? Because if you live with a child and they see you hitting their mom every day, he thinks that's the norm. He will do that as well when he grow up. So we need to change the mindset of people.
I agree completely. So thank you very much for sharing that. This is something which takes a lot of courage, and I think to get comfortable with it. And I congratulate you, because you have found your voice, and you definitely know that you have choices, which is beautiful. So if I would ask you your 3 recommendations how to dominate your decade, what would those 3 things be?
Dominating our decades. Yes, people have to be assertive. That's point number 1. Without being assertive, you have a problem of letting yourself out there so that people know what you're going out, what you're going what you are facing. You need to be assertive. You need to have the confidence of speaking out and telling the person who is abusing you, letting them know that this is not going to end just like this. You are not going to just look at it and be quiet. Assertiveness, it was in the sense that you need to sit down with this person and discuss what is wrong. But then you need now to have the confidence of telling them that this thing, if it keeps going on, I am going to report you. Because if you don't report, you're still gonna die. If you don't talk, you're still gonna die. So the third phase to dominate the decade is everyone is a sister. Everyone within the community where you live, you have to look after one another. If we can't do that as human beings, people will perish. So we need to start looking after my sister next door. We need to start knowing, not knowing exactly their business, but just the good morning, how are you? Is everything okay? You know, by doing that, things change. People work together. And the more she gets used to you, asking you, how are you? The more she become open. So we need to be a sister's keeper or a brother's keeper to know that everybody is okay. Without that, we can perish. So we need to know each other and help each other and support each other.
Beautiful recommendations. Thank you very much. If someone is listening to you and can relate and they want to ask questions or they want to comment on something, how can someone connect with you and follow you?
Yes, they can follow me on Facebook as Jossine Abrahams. That's number one. They can follow me on Twitter as well, Jossine at Jossine Abrahams. They can follow me on Instagram and as well as on WhatsApp. And I am free all the time for women to get hold of me. They can get my books on Amazon. My books are there. If they just Google Amazon and Google Jossine Abrahams books, they will see all my books are over there. And they can get me as well on my website, because once you read my website, you have read part of my book, because you see my story there. My website is www.peaceforglobalwomen.com. So they can get me there, and I'm easily persuaded to help women all the time. So yes.
Beautiful. So thank you for taking the time. It's very late in UK. We are very sorry that we can't be live with you today. So we're helping someone out, and therefore that's why this video is recorded, all
Right.
focused on the mission. So if you, who you are watching today, heard something that can change your life, then take the action now. Don't wait.
Absolutely.
As well, if just by sharing this video can save lives. So do this one click and share this video. And that can be inspiration. That can be something that really changes the life, or in a worst case or best case at the same time, can save the life. So become the hero of your own life and become the hero of someone else's life. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure we are going to connect soon, and let's see. Maybe, as all of you know, I'm setting up a lot of new channels. So maybe we will have the violence TV or the domestic violence TV. So to bring awareness. So thank you everybody, and have a beautiful life, hopefully. And I see you all very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye. Namaste. Bye-bye.